And I knew, that's it. Say your last goodbye because you're out. I was like, Hashem, you can't do this to me. You can't leave my kids, 7 orphans. It's not okay. And my poor wife is standing there looking, but she sees that her husband is dying. Blood clot that was traveling from my leg to it got to the lungs and eventually reached to the main artery of my lung, and it was a massive blood clot. In most cases, massive blood clots in the lung, it's fatal. It was like you can't close your eyes. If you close your eyes, you don't open them ever again. Very exciting for me to be back in my corner. When I was a little kid, they used to send me to the corner. So I decided also now to stay in a corner. So it's very, very special moment for me to be in the corner. Yeah, I'm right in the corner.
And now you're the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to see you back. Baruch Hashem, it's very good to be back. And I think it's the most appropriate time to come back on a Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month, and a new start, a new beginning. Rosh is actually the head, not the beginning. Technically, it should have been called Tchilat HaChodesh, but it's called Rosh Chodesh. Rosh means the head that holds everything in it. So I would like to first of all start with thanking the Kadosh Baruch Hu for all the miracles that He did to us in the last 6 weeks. And this was just the mini Seudat Odaya. This was a little meal for thanking the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The big one is yet to come. We just need a bigger place. But I want to, in front of everybody, thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu for unbelievable miracles that He did to me and my family. And there's no words of appreciation. And I'm going to take the opportunity to thank my wife, who I think left. She's here. So I'm going to take the opportunity to thank her for her devotion and how she took care of me simultaneously with running the show and their kids and everything. Hashem should bless her with arichut yamim and shanim tovot. And last but not least, as I have to say it again, she walked in. So take 2. So I'm going to rewind. We'll tell the editor not to cut. I'm going to take the opportunity after thanking Hashem to thank my wife for her dedication and devotion the last 6 weeks and the last 16 years. We're going to be married soon, 16 years. Yudalet Kislev, Baruch Hashem. Our anniversary is coming up, Sweet 16. So I'm going to thank you for all your hard work and dedication and feeding me and bathing me and clothing me and worrying about me with such love and care. And yeah. You're going to have to. You're going to have to excuse me if I get a little bit emotional here and there. But it's a very good time to take the opportunity to thank you all the people who are present here in this room, and for the thousands of people out there throughout the world for everything. You know, in a few weeks we're going to read the parasha of Vayishlach, when Yaakov Avinu is coming out of Haran, and he says, "Katonti mikol ha'ma'asim, mikol ha'chasadim." I became a small and nothing from all the mercy and the kindness that you have shown me. And You know, many times I felt like I'm a Yaakov because Yaakov left his house when he was a young man, and I left my house when I was a young man, and he went to Haran, and I also went to Haran. I went to New York, which is kind of equivalent. Haron af shel makom. I went to New York and Los Angeles, and then I was in America for 18 years. Yaakov came out of Haran with 4 wives. I settled with one that is worth 4. He came back with 12 kids. I came back with 6 kids. He came out with great wealth. I came out with great wealth. Not money, but wealth in everything else. So I always see eye to eye with Yaakov, what he went through. And Yaakov is now saying, we're going to read it in a few weeks, Katonti mikol ha'ma'asim, where he saw with his own eyes how much good and kindness, and he made him feel so small and humble. So I have no words to even express the gratitude of what I saw, what was going on behind the scenes. Thousands of people, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people were praying, dedicating classes. I think maybe 5,000 books of Tehillim were read, challah baking, mitzvot. It's unbelievable what was going on. And even here around here, everybody was coming to help with food, babysitting, cleaning, moving, taking. It's just unbelievable. Sometimes we had 4 dinners every night. We didn't know what to eat. So many people were coming with food. Unbelievable. Such amazing food. And you know what? You could feel the love in the food. You could feel the warmth and the caring. And so many people, I can't even start to thank so many people. You know, I wrote myself all sorts of things I need to do. And one of them is I wrote down I have to personally start calling hundreds of people and to thank them for everything. How many women cooked, how many men helped and moved and pushed and picked up. And it's unbelievable. Every time I would ask, what's going on with this? Don't worry, it's taken care of. How about that? Don't worry, so-and-so took care of it. So I think it's a very appropriate time to say, at least for the ones of you who are in the room and the ones who are going to watch the video, that I have no words to thank you for everything that you did, and Hashem should bless you 1,000 times more. And you should never get to a point, chas v'shalom, to be on the receiving end, just that you have the ability always to give. You know, for so many years, Hashem has blessed my wife and me to be on the giving side, and this is the first time that I was on the receiving side. And it made me realize how important it is that you can do something for somebody else, and how you can change and affect a person's life with a little bit of chesed. Take a little bit from yourself, and I saw unbelievable chesed. I think this all was worth for me to happen to go what I went through, just to see the chesed that it brought people to do. How much money people spent. People were sending help from all different places. Just to see that, I think it was worth all the suffering, to see the chesed, the kindness, that people opened their hearts and opened their mind and pockets, whatever it took. And needless to say, how beautiful unity it brought between so many people. So I think it's worth all the pain. I told my wife, maybe I should go to the hospital once a month, and I will get some time off, and we'll see again so much chesed. I can tell you that, I can guarantee to you that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is very happy to see how so many people, without asking questions and without even making any calculations, came with help. And this is really what we need. We need to see more of kindness and chesed and charity and ahavat chinam. People I don't even know. People I never even heard about them, what they were doing. And needless to say, the thousands and thousands of people who are praying, that's probably the miracle, that's probably the merit, really what saved me. And I want to very briefly, my briefly is an hour, but I want very briefly to, so many people want to know what happened. I don't think most people even know what happened. And a lot of people heard, there was a lot of misinformation going out. But I owe so many people that were praying day and night, they don't even know what they were praying for. And I have the obligation of at least informing with my own words what was going on. There's so many people that I don't even know who they are, or this is not new, I don't know who are the people behind the screen, unless they come here and visit me, or unless I see them in a lecture. But I got so many amazing messages. I never check any messages. Don't take it personally, but if I would check messages, then I would be all day long on the phone. And there were times in the hospital that I went through some messages just to be shocked. One woman, I don't know who she is, maybe she's going to watch the video. She was in the grave of the Baal Shem Tov, and she read 5 books of Tehillim. 5 books of Tehillim in the grave of the Baal Shem Tov. I got pictures from all the graves in the world. I can now inform you where every grave exists. From the pictures of people sending from there. So Baruch Hashem, I hope that all the pain that I had to go through, at least so much good came out of it. And I quickly going to go a little bit what happened, but there's so much more beyond that, and more important is the message that came through with it. So this past summer, I was on a tour in New York, and something very special happened. For the ones who know me more personally, and when I became observant 18 years ago, one of the first things that I did is I went to a very big rabbi and I told him, I have tattoos. What should I do with the tattoos? And he told me, don't worry about it. Just focus on your tshuva. So I said, okay. The rabbi said, I don't ask questions. But it always bothered me. Every time I went to the mikveh, every time that I had to take my clothes off, whatever it was, so many times, although at some point I got to understand that the tattoos did much good than bad. But it was in my heart, deep down inside, I didn't like being covered with tattoos. And a few years ago I read by Rabbeinu Bechayei, the Gaon Chida, who says that, of course, it's a severe sin to do a tattoo. It's a lav, a prohibition from the Torah. But once the person did it, that's it. To carry the tattoo is not a sin. But when the person is going to start ascending and going higher and higher in spiritual levels, and it will be the time when the person needs to be elevated from the level of nefesh to ruach, then he would not be able to go up to that level as long as he has a tattoo on him. Because that tattoo is on the nefesh, it's also stained on the nefesh, and the nefesh cannot be ascended, can't go higher. So I went back to the same rabbi and I showed him what I read. So he nodded and he said, if you can take it off, take it off. So I went to a dermatologist, to the mumche. He looked at it, he told me $25,000 and I can't take everything off, only some will be off. So needless to say, that was out of the picture. And then from that day on, I was just hoping that one day something will happen. This past summer I was in New York, I gave a lecture, and the person who organized the lecture, at the end comes out to me and he tells me, I have a personal question for you. You don't have to answer. And he asked me, what did you ever do with these tattoos? I said, nothing. They're still there. So he tells me, why don't you take them off? So I told him, you want the honest truth? Because it costs a lot of money. So he says, that's the problem? Money? I said, yeah. He tells me, if I get you the money, would you take them off? I said, yeah. So he says, okay, consider this done. Go get me a quote. Anyways, to make a very long story short, I came back to Eretz Israel, I got him a quote, and within 3 seconds, I got a money wire. Go get them removed. Which for me was a very big thing, to get these stains off me. Now is not the time to go in length, but I'm going to share in another time the significance. I think that was one of the main things of what was going on, but maybe we'll see how we're doing with time. Nevertheless, the reason why I'm saying that is because I started the first procedure. The second procedure was done 2 days before Yom Kippur. If you were here with us on Yom Kippur, maybe you noticed that my pants was full of blood. I was standing the whole service. I was the chazan, and the leg was bleeding. I have a big tattoo that covers my entire leg from the ankle to the knee, and it was bleeding because the procedure, it's burning the skin. Of course, the leg was very swollen, the skin was irritated, there was a lot of cuts and blood. And very important, before I even continue, to make a side note or a disclaimer, because a lot of people think it's because of that procedure. There's nothing to do with that. That was just the way in nature how the Kadosh Baruch Hu decided to bring down this entire situation. My intent is to continue removing the tattoos one way or another. I will encourage anyone to remove their tattoos in a safe way. It has nothing to do with it. A lot of people told me you shouldn't have removed it. And I said, you know what? If I wouldn't remove it, then I would fall down, I would cut my leg, and that would cause the problem. It had to happen in the leg, which I will explain to you later why. But it had to happen. It has nothing to do. It's not now, Chas v'shalom, not putting blame on anybody. It has nothing to do with the procedure. That was the way in nature. Hashem has to dress everything in nature. The derech hateva. But nevertheless, the leg was extremely swollen, throbbing in pain and blood for a couple of days. So I didn't pay attention to it. I was rubbing the ointment that they gave me, doing the treatment that I needed, and that's it. I don't know if you remember, maybe some of the men remember. It was the Thursday of Chol HaMoed Sukkot. We had a minyan for Mincha, then we had a class and a minyan for Arvit. And right before that, I started feeling very ill. So I came here, we prayed Mincha, I gave over the class, we prayed Arvit, and during already Arvit, I was already really feeling bad. Some of the people here noticed, I said I don't feel good. I went home, and my son and me were joking about it the other day. Sometimes for me to go home takes 3 hours. Every 3 steps somebody else stops me. That night everybody stopped me, telling me stories, telling me all sorts of nonsense, and I'm like, I gotta go home. I have to go home. Nevertheless, I go home. I literally took my clothes off and I fell on the bed. I was so sick that for 48 hours I didn't move from the bed. Now I thought maybe I got a flu, maybe a severe cold, but from Thursday night till Shabbat at night, I didn't come out of bed. I was in so much pain that the wrath to know the situation is that for 20 years I didn't take any painkillers for anything. I was in so much pain that I told my wife I need to take something. My wife just gave birth, so she had very strong pills that somebody gave her. Doesn't matter, I don't even know what I was taking. I took whatever would knock me out because I was so much pain. There wasn't one part in my body that it was without pain. And in my mind, I thought it's just a cold. I thought I got a flu. That's how it felt. Motzei Shabbat, somehow, miraculously, I came out of bed and I wanted to take a shower. I go to the shower, tell my son, come and help me so I'm not going to fall. I'm very dizzy. I'm very weak. And he tells me, look at your leg, it's black. And I look at the leg. Okay, it was very, very swollen. It was very colorful, extremely painful. And I was like, okay, it's part of the procedure, it's fine. And I crawled back in bed. Sunday, the situation was already much, much worse. So we called in a doctor. I caved. I usually don't go to doctors. When we made Aliyah and I came to Eretz Israel, we had to register with the Kupat Cholim. So I had to go there. And she asked me, when was your last visit to the doctor? I said, after I was out of the army. She looked, she was like, it can't be, it's 97. I said, yeah, that's when I was last at the doctor. No offense, I don't like you. Not you, but you. Nevertheless, I caved, so we brought a doctor home who looked at the leg and said, your leg is infected and you have to take antibiotics, which is another thing that I don't take. It was the first time after 20 years that I took antibiotics. But I caved under the pain and under the discomforts, and I started taking the pills. The next day was the morning of Simchat Torah. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Needless to say that physically I was so sick that I could not move. But my leg was already 3 times its size, was red, purple, black, any color you can imagine, and it was so painful that I told my wife, you gotta call a doctor. I think something is already much more than just a little bit of a cold. Needless to say, we called the doctor who told me you have about 3 seconds to call an ambulance because your leg, it's not even an infection. You have what's called cellulitis and you got to get to the hospital right away. So with my stupidity, I got out of bed, which took me 3 steps to collapse on the floor and to be on the floor till the ambulance came. Okay, so the ambulance came, took me to the hospital. When I came already to the hospital, I was already really completely out of it. Like half fainted already. The leg, I have pictures of it. It was so swollen, so much pain. Right away, the how do you call the Cheder Miyun, the emergency room. They started treating everything right away, took x-rays, whatever. And after a few hours, I was already in a different level. They gave me something to my blood, that I was in the sky with diamonds, seeing glittery things on the ceiling. Suddenly I feel very good. Oh, I like this place. Should have listened to my wife and came here 3 days ago. But because I was really complaining about severe pain, I was really, really in a bad place. So they gave me something for the pain and started injecting antibiotics. But for 2 days in the hospital, I was completely wiped out. Yeah. You know, in Israel, I don't know, the first time I was in the hospital, the doctors don't really talk to you. They didn't tell me what's going on. It's not like in the, my kids were saying, it's not like in the movies when the doctors come in and they tell you what's going on. Nevertheless, after 2 days, I finally got a doctor to explain to me that the area of the leg got infected. The negligence of the infection, which I didn't even know it's infected, I thought it's just a normal part, then became, of course, very infected. That causes the cellulitis. It's a skin infection. But because it was neglected for so many days, that it caused blood poisoning, what is called sepsis. So my body was already completely damaged by the sepsis, to a point that the different organs were already not functioning the right way. So I was really out of commission. I was completely out of it, as they say in simple words. So for 5 days I sit in the hospital bed being treated. where I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get up. I couldn't even read. I couldn't pray. I was completely in a bad situation. And I was in a room, the people around me, I said, if this is not going to kill me, the people next to me are going to kill me with how they cough and what's going on there. I just wanted to go home. Baruch Hashem, Thursday afternoon, they released me from the hospital. They gave me antibiotics and they sent me home. Where I come home and the leg is still very, very swollen. And I'm finally just happy to be at home. Shabbat comes, we made an effort to go out Shabbat in the morning to the synagogue so I can hear the Torah and say Birkat HaGomel. And I was pretending everything is fine, but really I was very, very weak and very sick. And barely can move with a lot of pain and discomfort. But that was just the beginning. Sunday, I'm in bed the whole day, and Sunday night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up with an attack that I can't breathe. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm choking, and I can't breathe. My wife wakes up, what's going on? I can't breathe. And I started almost fainting from lack of oxygen. The attack was about 5 minutes, I think, that I can't breathe. And my wife is shocked looking at me, what should I do? So I kind of relaxed after a couple of minutes. I opened the window with the little breath that I had. I just told her, let me just relax. It's okay, everything's fine. And she told her, go get me a cup of water. And then right after came another attack. And in that attack, I had such pressure on my chest, and I was choking. I couldn't breathe. And I was able to take maybe like that of air. So because of not breathing, I became very dizzy and very weak. And I had such pains in my heart and my chest and my hand and my leg, unbelievable pain. And my wife is looking at me, should I call an ambulance? And with my very last efforts, I'm like, yeah. I mean, maybe we can have a cup of coffee before he comes, but of course an ambulance. Now in my mind, I really don't know what's going on. I thought I'm getting a heart attack because the pain that I had in my chest and my heart and my arm. But the worst, I couldn't breathe. I was trying to calm myself down, and in my mind I was like, you just have to wait to the ambulance. Just breathe a few seconds, do whatever you can, just wait for the ambulance. Baruch Hashem, Tzfat is very small. I think the ambulance was there maybe in 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. Even though it looked like 3 hours, but just when I heard the engine, the diesel engine of the ambulance, I was already, okay. By the time the paramedics came in, I had already a third attack. And in Israel, there's a couple types of ambulances. First, they send you the regular one. And if they see there's something going on, then they right away send the IC, the intensive care ambulance, the Tipul Nimratz. Right away, he called for backup. At that point, I already lost consciousness. I was going in and out from the lack of oxygen. And the main thing that happened in the beginning, my blood pressure went down to 30/60. That's like almost no pressure, which right away that can cause stroke and a heart attack. But there wasn't even any blood pressure. I remember very vaguely at this point because I was really half out. Right away they connected me to all the machines, the EKG and I don't know how you say it, EKG. Right away they were injecting all sorts of things. At this point I was already totally, completely out. I don't remember so much. I just remember there was maybe one ambulance after another. Came like maybe 8 different units. And my poor wife is standing there looking, and I see she's trying to hold herself like everything's fine, but she sees that her husband is dying. And we had to wake up my daughter so she can run down to make sure the the ambulance knows where to come. Anyways, I don't remember so much how they took me down. I just remember waking up in the ambulance, because when they pushed the bed in, it kind of like woke me up. And I saw, the ambulance has a big flashlight. So I was like, ooh, bright lights. I remember the bright lights. So right away I was connected to oxygen, and I knew at least my mind, I knew that's it. Say your last goodbye because you're out. And I was in the back of the ambulance. He drove so fast. Baruch Hashem, we were 3 minutes from the hospital. He drove so fast, I felt like I said, if this is not going to kill me, the driving is going to kill me. I so much pain. I was so, I don't know what's the even word to say. I was so out of it. But the only thing that was in my mind, with my little last breath that I had, I was like, Hashem, you can't do this to me. You can't leave me. You can't leave my kids, 7 orphans. It's not okay. Do whatever you want from me. I'll take any suffering you're going to give to me. You cannot leave 7 kids with my wife. I was saying, just for my kids, just don't do that. I was really praying to Hashem, do whatever you want from me. I'll take any suffering you'll give me, I'll take. But don't make my kids suffer now. At least let them grow with a father. Anyways, I don't remember. I was constantly in and out. I got into the ICU, to the emergency room. Right away, they were jumping on me with different machines. I don't really remember. I just remember they were injecting me with something very painful. Every time they were injecting me, it was extremely painful. And I was just hearing here and there things. The blood pressure was so low that they gave me some liquid. I don't even know what it was. It was straight into the blood, just to try to raise the blood pressure. And the whole time, my eyes were like almost closed, but with a little bit of light, I was like, you can't close your eyes. If you close your eyes, you don't open them ever again. And then, of course, right away, he took me to X-ray, CT, the whole thing. And then very quickly, they found out what was the problem. The problem was that I had a blood clot in my main artery of my lungs. It's called pulmonary embolism. That very quickly what was going on is because of the infection in the leg, causes the cellulitis, what causes the sepsis, the poisoning of the blood. And lying in a bed for 10 days and not moving, they said, the doctors, that it created a blood clot that was traveling from my leg and got to the lungs, and eventually reached to the main artery of my lung, and it was a massive blood clot. Sometimes there's little blood clots and they're easily treated. This was a massive blood clot that they couldn't even control it with anything that they injected, that they almost operated to open up the chest to operate surgery to take it out. The problem is that at this point I don't even know, but in most cases, massive blood clots in the lung, it's fatal. I don't know if you know, down the street next to the shul of Rabbi Drori, the Love and Prayer, there's a barber there. Half a year ago exactly, he had pains in his chest, he couldn't breathe, he fell on the ground. They rushed him to the hospital. When they took him into the CT, he died in the CT from the exact same thing. The massive blood clot in the arteries of the lung. Anyways, the next thing that I remember is I wake up in a bed, pushing me. All I see is just the ceiling. And, I'm connected to wires and whatever it is. And they take me into a room. And I look around. And all I see is half-dead people. They're all on machines. All the people are sleeping, and all you hear is toot, 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 all the beeping. And I'm like, why am I here? I'm fine. Why? I think you have a wrong room. Anyways, so took a couple hours where things started to calm down, and my blood pressure was extremely low for about 2 or 3 days, which they weren't able to raise the blood pressure. So I had to be in an ICU, attached to oxygen, I couldn't breathe, couldn't talk, couldn't move. My whole body was not paralyzed, but I couldn't move. I had pains everywhere. The only part of my body that was able to move was my left hand. So I learned how to text on the phone with my left hand. And I couldn't talk, so I had to text to tell whatever message. And needless to say, so a couple of days in the ICU was not a picnic. And every time they had to give me the blood thinners shots into my stomach, which were extremely painful. And I had to draw blood out of my arteries a couple of times a day to see the gas in the blood, which that was also very painful. The whole few days in the ICU was not fun at all. The only thing that I was next to a window. So I was able to look out the window and see a little bit of the mountains. And for the whole time there, I couldn't even move, couldn't do anything. And the first day, you know, when a person is in a very bad situation, he's exempt from Torah and mitzvot. But I said, I will not do anything. I will take on myself not to do anything. I couldn't even say a little blessing, anything. But I can't not put tefillin on. So I texted to my wife, I have to put tefillin on. So my son came to the ICU. I don't think he was prepared to see. He thought maybe I'm sitting there with a cup of coffee and some begament with the guys. But I was completely out of it. But why am I telling this? Because when he took out the tefillin, it was his tefillin, not my tefillin, and he kind of put it next to my mouth so I can kiss it. And I started crying so strong. And I was like, you know, just to have a tefillin on me one time. You know, when we put tefillin on in the morning, we don't even notice what we're doing. We don't even take any moment to realize. It took me maybe 10 minutes to catch my can't even say catch my breath, just the fact that the tefillin, I saw the tefillin. And just imagine, I was, Baruch Hashem, not paralyzed, but I could not move my body. I couldn't move anything. Besides that, I had all the wires on me, and everywhere I was needles, and Baruch Hashem, miraculously, only the left hand was left alone. I only had the thing for the blood pressure. So we took it off, and of course the machine starts beeping. So the excitement and the emotion of putting that tefillin on, you know what, I never ever in my life, in the 18 years that I put tefillin on, was ever excited and emotional to put a pair of tefillin on me like that. It was so powerful that a mitzvah that we do every day and we take for granted, what an importance it was. And I couldn't even bring my right hand to say Shema. Could barely move my hand. Somehow I was able to bring my hand to cover my eyes. And even though on a regular basis I say Shema slow, just imagine how slow this Shema was. Then it took me 20 minutes because every word was like, I couldn't breathe. So to say even Ve'ahavta was a big deal. Took my time, and of course they were rushing us there. There weren't allowed to be anybody in the ICU. But that was the only thing that was holding me every day. When is the tefillin coming? You know, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't read, couldn't pray. The medicine were giving me were making me very dizzy, and I couldn't do anything. You know, somebody says, hey, why don't you listen to some Torah on the internet? There's some good rabbis on YouTube. So I couldn't do anything. The only thing that kind of soothed me, I used to play a little bit of music. But I was really not in any shape of anything. Couldn't move, couldn't eat, couldn't do nothing. But the only thing I was waiting for all the time is the tefillin. And then of course started the whole process. Part of the problem with the blood clot in the lung is wherever the blood clot stops and the lung doesn't get blood, then the lungs get damaged there. So I started getting, up until today, I have very severe pains everywhere where the blood clot damaged the lungs. But Baruch Hashem, after 5 days, they moved me to a regular room, and then from there to be released. And then, of course, a long process of healing and recovery, where the first week I still couldn't breathe, still couldn't talk, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. Only Baruch Hashem. Last week, slowly started walking, started talking more, I exercise, I go up and down from the first floor, second floor, first floor. First week it took me 1 floor, 30-second rest, 1 step, 30-second rest, another step, 20-second rest. So, Baruch Hashem, this whole time, I couldn't do anything but think. I told my wife the other day I had a 3-week התבודדות. I really didn't want visitors, not because also I couldn't. I know a lot of people wanted to come and visit. I was in no shape or form to have anyone. And I was completely not in any type of a situation. I didn't want people to come and see me like that, how I looked. And not only that, I was so in such a bad place. I didn't want anybody in my little privacy. So I apologize for the ones who wanted to come and couldn't make it. But, this is very briefly what was going on, because I know a lot of people were saying different things and they were posting things on the internet. He has this, he has that. So that's what happened. That's the situation right now. I still have the blood clot. It takes about half a year to dissolve from the body, which is treated with the blood thinners, and of course has a lot of side effects. Now, Baruch Hashem, Bemet Baruch Hashem, I feel much better and I can walk and talk and more independent. The first few weeks is even going to the bathroom, was just sitting up from the bed was a big deal. So the main point, there's a lot of things that I still didn't say. There's a lot of things don't know if I'm still ready to share what was going on. Be'ezrat Hashem, as the time goes, I'm sure it will come out. And there's another big factor that I don't think now we'll have time to share. But I want to share mainly the point of all this. When I was in the hospital the first time, I was trying to think, why am I here? It's not because I removed the tattoo. That's just an excuse. Why am I here? Why do I have to be in a hospital, in pain? You know what hurt me the most? I didn't celebrate Simchat Torah. I was in the hospital. The night of Simchat Torah, I was, I don't want to say half dead, but I was not in a situation to move. And in the morning, I was rushed to the hospital. That's my birthday, Simchat Torah. That's my holiday. That's where you take all that you did throughout Elul and Tishrei, and you're able to materialize it, so to say. Even Hoshana Rabbah, I was so waiting for Hoshana Rabbah. We'll sit, we'll be up all night, we'll learn, pray early in the morning. Last year was so amazing. That was hurting me the most. I couldn't even shake the lulav the last couple of days. So Hoshana Rabbah and Simchat Torah and Shmini Atzeret, I missed that. In my mind, I was like, why do I have to miss this? Now, some of you might remember that we were talking in one of the classes in Chol HaMoed, and I said, if Chas v'Shalom you have some suffering right after Yom Kippur, it's very good. It means the Kadosh Baruch Hu accepted your tshuva and right away started the cleansing process. So if you getting hit with something right after Yom Kippur, whatever it is, that you can define it as hardship or suffering, be very thankful. And if nothing happens, be very worried. So I was like, okay, maybe the Kadosh Baruch Hu accepted my tshuva. I guess there was a lot of junk accumulated throughout the years, and I was trying to figure out what is Hashem is telling me something. So I found out the first thing. In the structure of the Sfirot corresponding to body parts, then we know based on the Patach Eliyahu is that the Mochin, the Chochma, Bina and Da'at are in the head. Chochma is the right side of the head, Bina is the left side of the brain, Da'at is the back side of the brain. Then you have Chesed is the right hand, Gvura is the left hand, Tiferet is the body. Then you have Netzach, Hod and Yesod. Netzach is the right leg, Hod is the left leg. And Yesod, of course, is the female and male organ. But Hod is the left leg. So I said, okay, maybe I've damaged something in the sphere of Hod, that my leg is now, it's manifested into my leg. So what is Hod? Hod is majesty, majestic. So let's go back now to the time of Sfirat HaOmer. If you remember, we had a series of every day. We used to have a class where I was explaining that Hod comes from the word Hoda'ah, to thank. Admit. And Hoda'ah is Hoda'ah is to admit, and Lehodot is also to admit, but also to thank. So I was like, okay, I wasn't thankful enough to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, obviously. I didn't admit enough in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu or many others that obviously the damage reached to the sphere of Hod. Which made me realize something very deep, is that we don't thank Hashem, we don't thank people enough. We take things for granted. How many times lately did you thank Hashem that you have teeth and you can eat? I'm sure you didn't lately, unless you have a root canal or some dentist appointment. But when did you thank Hashem lately for breathing? I was counting my breaths. I couldn't talk for maybe 3 weeks. Last week I started talking a little bit. And even now, it really hurts my lungs when I talk, because I have to take small breaths. If I take a deep breath, then I feel all the places where the lung is damaged. It made me realize how many times we have to thank Hashem for everything that He does for us. And then after we're done thanking Hashem, is you thank your wife, your husband, your neighbors, your friends. How many times lately did you thank your wife for the dinner she made? Some people think, oh, she has to make, she's the cook. She's not the cook. She's your wife. Or in some cases, your husband. How many times did you thank your husband lately for doing whatever he does, whether it's going to work or providing to the family or even fixing the I don't know what. So I find that we don't thank enough people, we don't thank enough Hashem. And I came to the conclusion, okay, I learned my lesson. I'm going to be much more thankful now. I'm going to pay attention to every little detail, and I'm going to thank my wife and thank my kids and thank people around me, and people do things to me. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody has to do anything for me. And needless to say, you think Hashem owes me anything? Hashem has to provide anything to me? How many times do you thank Hashem? And you can thank Him with your own words. You can thank Him with your actions. And you can also thank Him when you pray. So I thought I figured it out. But then came the next time, the next hospitalization. So I was like, okay, now what? I thought I thanked already. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what's the deal with the lungs? Why the lungs? Why not anything else? Sometimes a blood clot goes up to the brain. A person gets a stroke. Chas v'shalom lo aleinu. Can go to the heart. Why the lungs? There has to be a message behind it. So, what do you do with your lungs? You breathe. My main problem was I couldn't breathe. Even the first week, even now after I was treated, I couldn't breathe. I was connected to oxygen, and I only could take very small breath. And even then, I would run out of breath all the time. So I said, okay, what is the operation of the lungs? Is you breathe. How do you say you breathe in Hebrew? It's neshima. You take a breath, linshom. Neshima has the same letters of neshama, of soul. And we read in Tehillim, Kol ha-neshama tehalel yudkei. The entire soul has to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu, to praise and thank, and you constantly have to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There is a halacha, it's a mitzvah from the Torah, that I constantly have to have Hashem in front of me. Shiviti Hashem l'negdi tamid. Constantly the Kadosh Baruch Hu has to be in front of me, 24/7. And how do you do it? Is when you praise Hashem for everything. When you say Shakol niya bidvaro, you don't say it in the speed of light and in a whispering. You say it with all your heart. You praise Hashem for every second. So it's two things, and there's many others. We're really running out of time, and I'm running out of breath. There's two things that I took from it, and if I already went through something, and everybody was participating with their prayers and their acts of kindness and many others, so it's for everybody to take, is these two little things that we have to be constantly thankful to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. From the moment you wake up in the morning and you say Modeh Ani, throughout the entire day, you have to put your main focus on thanking Hashem for everything. Now, when you won the lottery, it's very easy to thank Hashem for money. And when you're married, it's very easy to thank Hashem that you have a wife, and so forth. But it's not so easy to thank Hashem when you are suffering and when there's misfortune. But that's when you really have to thank Hashem. You have to thank Hashem for all the good. You can't be a chazer. You have to be appreciative and grateful. But you have to thank Hashem even for what you don't have. Because if you don't have it, it means Hashem knows it's better for you not to have it right now. All day long we have to thank Hashem. Not to take anything for granted. Not our breathing, not our walking. You know, somebody told me the other day, no, when are you going to teach again? I said, in my mind, I'm ready to run a marathon. But I can't walk even 2 steps. My body is 3 generations after my mind. My mind is thinking good and clear, but my body it's not even moving. And I think sometimes I can do something. The other day, I was making a joke. My daughter was listening to some funny song, and I made a joke, and I made a funny dance. Within 3 seconds, I was on the floor without air. I was totally out. In my mind, I was like, what's the big deal? I just made it move my body a little bit. So the point that you all should take from that is that every moment of your day has to be accounted. You know, last week we read in Parashat Chei Sarah that about Avraham Avinu, it says, V'Avraham zaken ba b'yamim. There's a question in Chazal, why does it say zaken and ba b'yamim? Ba b'yamim means he was old, which obviously doesn't mean old. If it meant old, then it wouldn't say zaken. Zaken, old. But ba b'yamim, it says ba b'yamim that he lived his life to the fullest. Every day was from morning to night, he didn't waste 1 second. And there was only one other person in the entire Tanakh that was said on that too, and that's also David HaMelech. It says that David Zaken u'ba b'yamim, that's the Haftarah we read last week. So every moment of your day has to be lived for the fullest. Because one day you're here and the next day you're somewhere else. You know, you plan something, you think, and in a second Hashem changes the reality. Even when I came back home from the first time in the hospital, I was, that's it, I'm done with it, I'm going to recover, everything will be fine. I didn't even think that a day later I'll be dying in my bed. And I didn't get into too many details and too many descriptions, but while I was in my bed getting the attack, I can't say I knew, but I had a very strong feeling that when I was taken out, with a little bit of my eye open and I saw my daughter, and I felt, that's it, I might not come here ever again. Maybe this is where you know, in Hebrew we say, Lizdakot al hatziyud. In the army, they give you equipment when you come in, and when you leave, you come back with the equipment and you get a certificate that you gave everything back. The term in Hebrew is Lizdakot al hatziyud, give back the equipment. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm giving back the equipment. Now I don't know what's waiting for me up there. I'm still very afraid to go up there. So, but I was more upset for my young kids. You know, in the entire thing, my poor wife, she was not even 4 weeks after giving birth. And she was running all the time, up and down, backwards and forth to the hospital. She's the only one that came. She's the only one I wanted her to come, and my son to put tefillin on me. And, you know, it makes you think. I literally don't have much time throughout the day to do many things. This was the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me a chesed. I said I was on a vacation in the hospital. I had 3 weeks to think. 3 weeks to talk to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. A 3-week hitbodedut. Just me and myself, talking with Hashem. Figuring out what needs to be done here. What's the message that needs to come out to the world? So there's a lot of messages. But today's message is that you have to be so grateful and so thankful for every little thing the Kadosh Baruch Hu does for you. You have to pay attention to everything. And even when you're in pain, you thank Hashem. You get a ticket, you thank Hashem that it wasn't a car accident. And even when something goes wrong, you thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu always. Constantly be in a state of gratitude. And it doesn't mean that life will become better, but you still thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu. When I came out of hospital, I was dying to go to one of the Kivrei Tzadikim to pray there. I couldn't go to the Arizal. There's 400 stairs. That would either kill me and they would leave me there, or they had to take me with a helicopter. I say, okay, I'll go to Rabbi Shimon. The hill is this steep. I will never make it, even if they would bring me with a car all the way to the entrance. So I was thinking, where can I go? So behind my house is Nachum Ish Gamzo. You can go with the car till the grave. And I went. It was one of the days I came back from the doctor. I told my wife, I have to go. No, it's not good for you. You have to go and rest. I sat there for 2 hours because I just couldn't get out of the chair. But I sat there for 2 hours and I prayed and I was like, look at that. You know, go look at the story of Nachum Ish Gamzo. He couldn't see. He was blind. He didn't have hands, didn't have legs. He had shchin all over his body. How do you call shchin? Bubbles all over the body. Anyways, he had the worst life, and everything was good. Gamzu letova. Everything is good. So the attitude has to be that we have to be so thankful for everything. Now after we're done thanking Hashem, you start thanking everybody around you. Nobody owes you anything. Not your wife, not your husband, not your parents, not your friends. You live in a place of gratitude and thank. You know, I couldn't do anything. I apologize for your honor and respect. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't even take it. You know, the first couple times my wife had to shower me. I couldn't even move. I was on a chair like that. I had to take a shower. You know what it is, 5 days to be in a bed and you sweat and you can't take a shower? I couldn't even move. I was so grateful. I just looked at her. I couldn't even talk. Just looked at her. In my mind, I'm like, I'm going to get you such a big present when I come out of here. I'm going to massage you twice a week for the rest of my life. I'm going to do whatever you want. And I hope she's not in the room. Now I'm going to have to cash in on these massages. But that's where I felt the real gratitude. When I saw how people who don't even know me, you know how many women cooked delicious food that I could eat? You know, every time my wife would come, she would bring me a soup. I told her with maybe 2 syllables, who made it? I wanted to know who made it. Who do I owe the gratitude when I come out for this soup, for whatever it is? And it really hit me how everything you have to see it as, wow. When I put the tefillin on, I was like, Hashem, you let me put on tefillin one more time. I can't believe it that you let me put on tefillin another time. You know, it has to be engraved in our neshama that everything that you do, you have to bow down to Hashem in gratitude. And when somebody does something for you, you have to remember it for the rest of your life. You know where we learn it from? Moshe Rabbeinu. The last request Hashem had before he died. Moshe Rabbeinu was already retired. He's 120 years old. Hashem tells him, I have one last request from you. Another request? I just served you now 40 years without a salary. I'm done. No, one little favor. I want you to go and destroy a nation. I want you to wage war on Midian. Kill them all. Moshe says, I can't do it. You got to send Yeshua. Why can't you do it? Because when I ran away from Paro 80 years ago, they gave me refuge. They took me inside in Midian and they gave me political immunity. I can't do it. This is hakarat hatov. This is gratitude that you did something to me 80 years ago. I owe you. So the next thing, of course, is how much are we praising Hashem? How many times do you really praise Hashem? You think you say Baruch Hashem, you praise Hashem? We have to run in the streets and scream to people how great Hashem is. For us, for any other people. Kol ha-neshama ta'alel yudkei. All the neshama has to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You know, in the last 3 weeks, I never prayed how I prayed in the last 18 years. Besides the fact that I have time. Now I have time. Now I know what it means to have time. So, but how I pray in the last 3 weeks, it's nothing compared to the last 18 years of tshuva, how I prayed. Every word is like chewing on honey. And everything, every moment, that's praising the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And taking your time. Now I can understand more in depth how there were Hasidim that used to pray for 9 hours every day. Usually I don't have time, everything is rush, everything is quick. But every limb of your body has to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have to be so devoted to the Kadosh Baruch Hu for everything that he does. That's the first thing that we have to do. Baruch Hashem, this last 6 weeks, this journey taught me many things, and Be'ezrat Hashem Bli Neder, I will come back to teach and share with you everything that I saw and understood, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to turn the world upside down. But we have to start with the core, and the core is that we have to bow down to the Kadosh Baruch Hu every second of the day. And we have to see other people in such a ayin tova, in such a good eye. You know that there are people that, first of all, I'm not talking about people that I never met. There are people that, listen, not everybody, you're not 100% with everybody. Even people that weren't 100% with us, even these people came and did something. Some people completely shocked me with the effort that they did. I was like, him? He did that? And you know what? This is something that we really have to apply. Is most of us, we have a very, very narrow eye when it comes to looking at other people. We judge people very wrong. We're very critical. We're very judgmental. And a big part of appreciating and praising is seeing that everybody around you can contribute to something. When you're strong and you have might and everything is good, you feel you don't need anybody. But when you're completely down and you need somebody to hand something over to you, suddenly even your enemy is somebody that can help you. So if they actually help you. But the point said is that the whole outlook, before we even start to turn the world upside down, the outlook has to be completely different. And if we don't constantly in a state of gratitude, look at David HaMelech. Somebody made a campaign from some application that you read Tehillim. And they kept sending me screenshots, how many Tehillim was read, because the application kind of monitors how many chapters, how many books, and I was like, wow, why is everybody reading Tehillim now? How come nobody's learning a page of Gemara? Why nobody learning some Zohar? Why dafka Tehillim? Okay, so we know the power of Tehillim. But look at the majority of the Tehillim, what David HaMelech went through, and he was praising Hashem the whole time. He had to go through such suffering and hardship, and as he's going through this, he's praising the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Instead of complaining, why are you doing this to me? I didn't do anything. What do you want from me? So, to conclude, again, I have to thank you all, and I will be forever thankful for everybody who participated and helped and assisted and cooked and moved and baked and picked up, and how many people babysit my kids, took things around, errands, whatever it was. So I can't thank everybody, but I will generally thank everybody for everything that you did, and mainly to the Kadosh Baruch Hu for everything that he did. But I hope I can relay the message. I feel that I'm not 100% myself to give over what I need to, but I hope that you can at least leave the door today, when it's Rosh Chodesh Kislev, when we have the opportunity to start, a fresh start. If the mind is healthy, then the body is healthy. If the mind is strong, then the body will follow. So the mind and the brain and all in the head. We start Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the month that is called the month of miracles. Then we have a great opportunity to apply it in our life. And exactly how I was explaining before, then you make a big shift in your life, you'll see great miracles. Even when you don't see a revealed miracle in front of your eyes, everything is a miracle. The fact that we're breathing, the fact that we're eating, the fact that we hear, everything is a miracle. We have to live with such of an attitude that we are forever grateful to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We constantly have to have this acknowledgement of katonti mikol ha'maasim, that to be wowed by everything that happens to you, whether it's from the Kadosh Baruch Hu or from anybody else. And I can guarantee to you that when you switch this attitude and you see the good and you appreciate the good and even the bad, no such thing as bad, even the bad is good. You change your attitude and you focus on Hashem, and Hashem is the focus of your life, you see everything is completely different. Your entire day is different, because you're not looking to be bitter and judgmental and angry and upset. You're looking, how can I thank right now the Kadosh Baruch Hu? How can I praise Hashem? How can I thank you right now for whatever you did? Doesn't matter what it is. You know, sometimes people don't even realize. You know, I was once, maybe 25 years since I was in the army, I never went on a bus. A few months ago I went on a bus, and I sat in the front row, and I was so pleased to see that almost every second person that came on the bus said to the driver, thank you. The people went up on the bus and down, and up and down. People turned around to the bus driver, thank you. I was like, wow, look how beautiful. You know, can you imagine how the driver feels? That all the long people driving him crazy, and suddenly somebody comes and says, thank you? Just imagine how you feel when you work hard and nobody says thank you, nobody shows appreciation, you do something from the bottom of your heart. Sometimes all you need to hear is a thank you. You don't need anything else. So I'm going to conclude by telling you all thank you. And I'm going to